From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gampir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight is on Israel's revenge against Yemen's Houthis. A lot has happened overnight, with Israel launching a bombing campaign targeting what it calls the backbone of the Houthi military operations. We tell you more about this operation, what all happened, what led to it, and the bigger implications for the region. That's coming up in just a bit, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We focus on what's happening in Gaza and the situation on the ground, with fresh Israeli airstrikes claiming more lives there. Is the Chinese President Xi Jinping losing grip on power? What's really happening in China? We tell you all about Xi Jinping's greatest test yet. The questions being raised and how things even reached this point. All this and more coming up. Israel has declared revenge against Yemen's Houthis, unleashing a devastating bombing campaign targeting what it calls the backbone of the Houthi military operations. Early on Monday, Israel unleashed strikes dubbed Operation Black Flag, and this came after a suspected Houthi attack on a ship in the Red Sea, and marks one of Israel's largest military actions in Yemen to date. In fact, the IDF claims these ports were being used by the Houthis to transfer weapons from Iran. Weapons, it says, have been used to launch drone and missile attacks against Israel in recent weeks. Loud blasts were reported across the coastal areas as Israeli warplanes bombed what they described as military installations, repurposed from civilian infrastructure. And one of the targets was reportedly the Galaxy Leader, which is a commercial vessel seized by Houthi forces last November. Remember, the Galaxy Leader had nothing to do with the Houthis, or Israel for that matter. It was a commercial car carrier. But in 2023, it was seized by the Houthis during the start of a campaign of attacks on the Red Sea. And the vessel was being operated by the Japanese shipping line. It was on its way to India from Turkey, when Houthi fighters used a helicopter to board the carrier. They detained the crew, and it took 2 years of negotiations for the crew to be released. The ship was taken to the coast of Yemen after it was hijacked and has been operated by the Houthis ever since. It was seized because the shipping line's parent firm was co-owned by an Israeli businessman, Ibrahim Ungar. And now, according to the IDF, the Houthis installed radar systems on the ship to track maritime traffic as well as plan attacks on vessels in the Red Sea. The Ras Kanatib power station, it was struck because Israel claims it serves as a key electricity hub for the Houthi military operations. Israel, for that matter, called it another example of how civilian sites are being militarized by the Yemen-based armed rebel group. The Houthis, meanwhile, have hit back. The Houthi military spokesperson said in a televised speech that the group fired a ballistic missile at central Israel's Jaffa area on Sunday, calling it a significant military operation. The missile, dubbed Palestine 2 by the Houthis, was declared a success by their leadership. Israel is yet to confirm any damage or casualties from the strike. Now, the Houthis have repeatedly attacked ships in the Red Sea since late 2023, saying that they act in solidarity with the Palestinians during the Gaza conflict. Earlier this year itself, a US brokered deal had temporarily paused their attacks. But after Israel's recent operations targeting Iranian sites, the Houthis resumed missile and drone strikes. And this latest bombardment by Israel, marking its most extensive action in Yemen since the month of May. That's when joint US-Israeli strikes targeted Houthi infrastructure. Both Israel and the US have struck Houthi ports before, including an American attack in April that killed at least 74 people. And as the tensions flare up once again, Israel has warned that it is ready to impose a naval and air blockade on Yemen if the Houthi attacks continue. And with Israel vowing to escalate further if needed, and the Houthis pledging more missile attacks, this is a very real fear now that this cycle of strikes and retaliation could very well spiral into a wider regional conflict. And we now shift our focus to Gaza, with fresh Israeli airstrikes claiming more civilian lives. According to Gaza's health ministry, at least 80 Palestinians have died in recent Israeli operations, with more than 300 injured in just the latest wave of strikes. An Israeli airstrike struck a residential building in the Al Rimal neighborhood, killing at least 7 Palestinians and injuring dozens more. Eyewitnesses claim the blast tore through the densely populated area without any prior warning.
I was in the Al Rimal neighborhood. It occurred without any prior warning, even though the area is densely populated and well known as a vibrant civilian neighborhood.
In fact, a survivor said there is nothing left in Gaza but death, and not even room in the cemeteries.
Without any warning, we were shocked by the missile strike. We have had enough humiliation and suffering. We now work just to afford a bit of lentils. That's enough. Have mercy on us. We just want to live like other people. Here in Gaza, we are dying. There is nothing here but death. Even the cemeteries are full.
And elsewhere in Gaza, Israeli missiles reportedly struck an out-of-service clinic sheltering displaced Palestinians. The overnight attack killed 6 people, injured at least 15. Many of those seeking refuge inside had already fled fighting to other parts of Gaza.
The clinic is out of service, sheltering displaced. We were safely sleeping. We were surprised with missiles falling on us. With the bombing, we didn't know where to go. We were surprised with the bombing on us while didn't know where the bombing was. We pulled bodies from in here. May they rest in peace. Body parts, babies no more than 5 months old and 2 years old. I also pulled my children from under the rubble. They were wounded.
And amid the relentless Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, ceasefire talks appear to be regaining momentum. Just in a few hours from now, the Israeli Prime Minister is expected to meet with US President Donald Trump at the White House. And talks are expected to take place over the Gaza ceasefire. And that meeting comes as Israel and Hamas engage in indirect negotiations over a possible US brokered deal focused on hostage releases and a pause in the fighting. Donald Trump expressed optimism over the weekend, saying a breakthrough could come within days.
I think we're close to a deal on Gaza. We could have it this week. I think there's a good chance we have a deal with Hamas during the coming week, pertaining to quite a few of the hostages. You know, we've gotten a lot of the hostages out, but pertaining to the remaining hostages, quite a few of them will be coming out. We think we'll have that done this week.
Netanyahu has said he is hopeful that the talks in Washington will help move negotiations forward in Qatar, where mediators are working to secure a broader agreement. But while the diplomats talk, the violence on the ground is showing no signs of abating. The total death toll in Gaza has now risen to over 57,000, painting a rather grim picture of the escalating humanitarian crisis. Let's now shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war. Kiev says Russia launched new deadly attacks across the country, killing 4 people, injuring several others, including 3 children. A fresh wave of Russian strikes ripping through Ukrainian cities, military recruitment centers and homes as the battlefield expands to a more brutal terrain. Kharkiv, Kiev, Dnipropetrovsk are reeling from a storm of drones, missiles and fire. More in this detailed report.
Russia has launched yet another furious barrage on Ukraine's heartland, targeting civilians and military infrastructure alike. The latest assault battered the cities of Kharkiv and Pokrovsk, leaving bloodied streets, burning ruins and terrified survivors. These are the latest images from the devastation caused in Kharkiv.
I was having breakfast at the time, then I heard it flying. I woke my wife and goddaughter up and took them to the bathroom. I stood behind the partition wall and then there was an explosion. Glass shattered and the windows were blown off. Then there was another explosion, followed by a number of smaller ones under my windows. There were some small fireballs. I don't know what they were.
The Ukrainian president says Russia fired over 1,000 drones and more than 1,200 aerial bombs last week, while pleading its Western partners for more air defense systems. Russian forces are also making steady inroads on the front lines. In a rare strategic gain, Moscow claims it has captured a village in Dnipropetrovsk region, marking its first confirmed advance in this territory. Analysts fear it may serve as a springboard to deeper incursions in Ukraine's industrial southeast. These aren't symbolic strikes anymore, they're part of a new front. Russian strikes hit 2 recruitment centers, an ominous sign of Russia's intent to disrupt Ukraine's mobilization efforts and further strain its dwindling manpower. For weeks, Russia has unleashed a brutal, unceasing barrage on Ukraine's port city of Odessa, reducing homes and critical infrastructure to rubble and inflicting civilian casualties. Russian ballistic missiles have caused death and destruction in Odessa. Ukraine is refusing to crumble. In a dramatic escalation of the Black Sea battle, Ukrainian forces have launched daring strikes targeting key Russian assets. The Russian-controlled port of Novorossiysk in Krasnodar Krai was targeted in the attack. With Ukraine still grappling with critical shortages of ammunition and air defense systems, the current wave of strikes, coupled with consistent ground advances and targeted hits on vital recruitment infrastructure, signals a dire phase in the conflict. The war's brutality escalates daily, and Ukraine faces its most harrowing test yet. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now. During the war with Israel, Iran unleashed more than 500 ballistic missiles that tore through Israeli airspace during that war. Despite America's and Israel's high-tech defense system and the ceasefire agreement, Iran's missile shadow still looms large. And our next report is getting you the complete story.
On June 13th, Israel launched surprise strikes against Iran, targeting top military commanders, politicians and nuclear scientists. 9 days later, amidst ongoing talks over a nuclear agreement, the US attacked 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, leading to an all-out offensive. Putting the whole of West Asia on its heels, a ceasefire on June 24th ended the war, but tensions remain high. Over the 12-day war, Iran launched more than 500 ballistic missiles at Israel. Among them, 3 were far deadlier than the rest. Cluster missiles designed to fragment mid-air at nearly 7 kilometers high. These warheads rained down dozens of explosive small bombs, each one capable of inflicting severe damage. At least 3 cluster missiles struck 7 Israeli cities. In Tel Aviv's outskirts, 5 towns spread across a 10-kilometer radius were hit in one go. Azur, a small town southeast of Tel Aviv, was also struck. In the southern Israeli city of Beersheva, at least 9 locations were struck, while in the central Israeli city of Rishon LeZion, the warhead released multiple bomblets that scattered across different parts of the city. These were no random launches. They were precise, strategic and historic, marking the first time that this kind of weaponry has been used against Israel. And Iran's arsenal isn't a mystery anymore. From the Qadr missiles to the Khorramshahr, which has a range of 2,000 kilometers and can carry up to 80 cluster bomblets, Tehran has various kinds of missiles that don't just reach Israel but can cause extensive destruction. The 12-day war marked their operational debut, and as Israeli and US jets struck Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran's missile cities stayed untouched. Iran's underground missile cities remain intact, unscathed. Equipped with mobile launchers, drones, ballistic and cruise missiles, they remain operational, ready for deployment and extremely lethal. Tehran says retaliation plans are in place, postponed only because of a ceasefire, with Iran's armed forces Major General warning that next time Iran's attacks will paralyze Israel, to a point where even the US may not be able to save them. Iran continues to build its arsenal. Israeli intelligence projects Iran's missile stockpile could reach 8,800 by 2027, potentially exceeding 10,000 by 2028. According to Israeli media reports, during the 12-day war, Israel and the United States fired nearly 200 interceptors, including 93 American THAAD missiles, estimated to cost around $1.2 billion. With an annual production of just 36 to 48, the US used up nearly 2 years' supply in under 11 days. Israel and the United States may have struck Iran's nuclear enrichment site, but Iran's missile shadow still looms large. Its missile cities stay buried and secure, and the threat only grows louder. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
On to China now, where the country's iron-fisted leader is facing his greatest test yet. A new Communist Party regulation suggesting Xi Jinping may finally be loosening his grip, sparking speculation of delegation, succession, or retreat. The question is, could the once imperious ruler be confronting his own political nightmare?
For years, Xi Jinping has cultivated an aura of unchallenged absolute power, meticulously dismantling rivals and solidifying his position as China's most formidable leader since Mao. Now, a bombshell has detonated at the very core of Chinese power. New Communist Party regulations, quietly passed by the Politburo, are sending shockwaves. These rules, designed to standardize decision-making and empower party coordinative institutes, are more than bureaucratic tinkering. The new rules, published in the state-run Xinhua, demand that party organs plan, deliberate and oversee major policies, tasks one jealously guarded by Xi himself. Analysts are now locked in a fierce debate. Some argue these regulations signal Xi's intention to gradually step back from day-to-day governance, perhaps laying the groundwork for an orderly power transition or even preparing for retirement by the next CPC Congress in 2027 when Xi turns 75 years old. This interpretation is fueled by Xi's recent absence from the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, where Premier Li Qiang represented China, a first for Xi since assuming the presidency.
There's a lot of movement going on in the CCP right now, and recall that, President Xi has consolidated power over the last decade or so, and he's made all of the power concentrated with him. The problem with that is China is failing right now in many respects. So he has all the power, but he will get all the blame. So he's doing one of two things here. Either he is trying to delegate so all of the blame doesn't fall on his shoulders, or the party around him sees that the country is failing in many respects and wants to rearrange or restructure the power arrangement in Beijing.
The very discussion of delegation of power, regardless of its ultimate intent, represents a chink in the armor of a leader previously seen as omnipotent. Amid mounting economic pressures, including the ongoing tariff war with the US and a collapse of the housing market, local governments are straining under debt burdens. Consumer confidence is poor. The world's second largest economy is losing steam. China's policy of dumping cheap goods is now being called out globally, facing economic headwinds. The whispers for clamor for change is slowly gaining traction. Now, this unexpected shift in power dynamics in Beijing could very well be the greatest internal political challenge Xi Jinping has ever faced, shaking the very foundations of his iron rule. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now, French intelligence agencies have reportedly found that China ran a targeted campaign to try and damage the global reputation of the French-made Rafale fighter jet. These jets were deployed in aerial combat for India's retaliatory strikes against Pakistan in May. Chinese embassies worldwide reportedly played a key role in trying to spread disinformation about the jet's performance in combat. French defense intelligence shared documents with the Associated Press, which reported that defense attaches in Chinese embassies worked to convince current and potential Rafale buyers to opt for Chinese-made jets. Indonesia, which has already signed a deal for 42 Rafales, was reportedly a key focus of this campaign. France reportedly sees arms exports, including Rafales, as central to its defense industry and diplomatic strategy. With China expanding its influence across Asia, France is working to strengthen partnerships with countries like India, Indonesia, the UAE, which have all purchased the jet. Pakistan claimed it downed Rafales during the 4-day military conflict with India. An unfounded claim that both France and India have said is outright inaccurate and incorrect. And according to France's defense ministry, the Rafale jet became the target of what it described as a large-scale disinformation effort. The ministry said the goal was to promote Chinese alternatives and damage France's standing as a global defense supplier. In fact, France says the stakes go beyond aircraft. In a statement on its official website, the French ministry reportedly said that undermining Rafale was an attempt to erode confidence in France's industrial abilities, defense partnerships, technological prowess. According to reports, China has denied allegations that it launched a coordinated disinformation campaign to undermine France's Rafale fighter jets, reportedly calling the claims rumors and slander. And so far, France has reportedly sold 533 Rafale jets, including 323 exports to countries like India, Qatar, Egypt, Greece, Croatia, the UAE. Indonesia reportedly ordered 42 Rafale jets and is considering buying more. And before we go on any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you all about a statement by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari that has left his own country stunned, and how you do not want to miss this. We're getting you latest updates from Texas, where several people have lost their lives following flash floods. What is the Einstein visa, and why are questions being raised over how Melania Trump got this visa? We get you the complete story. All this and more coming up. Pakistan's former foreign minister, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, has dropped a political bombshell, one that has stunned his country and exposed deep cracks within Pakistan's terror establishment. In a rare pro-India statement, Bilawal has said that Pakistan would have no objection in extraditing terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar to India as a confidence-building measure. In an interview with Al Jazeera, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said Pakistan was ready to extradite individuals of concern to India, provided New Delhi showed what he called willingness to cooperate in the process. Just for context here, he was responding to a direct question on handing over chiefs of the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed to India. Both, remember, are UN-designated global terrorists who have masterminded some of the deadliest terror attacks on Indian soil. Lashkar Chief Hafiz Saeed is behind the horrific 26/11 Mumbai attacks. The Jaish chief, Masood Azhar, released by India in the 1999 Kandahar hijacking, has been linked to the parliament attack, the Pathankot air base assault, the Pulwama suicide bombing that killed 40 Indian soldiers. Bilawal claimed that while both the LET and the Jaish-e-Mohammed are banned in Pakistan, prosecuting them for cross-border terrorism was difficult because of what he called non-compliance from India, suggesting that India had not provided witnesses and evidence in Pakistani courts. But here's the truth. India has handed Pakistan undeniable proof of these terrorist involvement in attacks on Indian soil, from the 2001 Parliament attack to the 26/11 Mumbai attacks to Pulwama, and yet Pakistan has done nothing. And what is Bilawal claiming now? That India is not cooperating in their prosecution? And this is nothing but manipulation of the truth. India has consistently demanded that these terrorists be handed over. It has provided dossier after dossier, witnesses, proof, everything. The problem lies in Pakistan's refusal to act. Meanwhile, Bilawal's remarks have triggered outrage in his country. Hafiz Saeed's son, Talha Saeed, himself a designated global terrorist, has lashed out at Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, accusing him of bringing disgrace to Pakistan on the world stage. Talha declared that his family and others in Pakistan had vehemently opposed any extradition of Hafiz Saeed to India. While Pakistan's political leaders indulge in this war of words, the truth remains. Terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar continue to enjoy the backing of Pakistan's military establishment, operating with impunity against India. And the question still is, will Pakistan finally act? Will it hand over these terrorists to India so that the countless victims of their attacks, the families shattered forever, can finally get justice? Or will Pakistan's political leadership continue to do what it always does? Speak big words about dialogue with India while harboring terror on its soil. At the end of the day, Bilawal's statement may have rattled Pakistan's terror lobby, but for India, it's yet another reminder that the masterminds of attacks like 26/11 remain out of reach, protected by the very state that claims to fight terrorism. By now, we all know about China's massive military modernization. We've seen Chinese media praise its military power, strength. Some even claim it's overtaking America in the arms race. But what about its weaknesses? Tonight, we expose one such crucial vulnerability. It's China's air defense. And experts are sounding the alarm, by the way, saying the PLA is dangerously behind when it comes to countering drones. That's right. China's air defense systems, often hyped as invincible, could be no match for a simple drone swarm. And we are not the ones saying this. 3 military analysts writing on the PLA Daily on July 6 say that China's current forces are stretched thin across multitasked units and are ill-suited to combat small, fast-moving drones. They propose the formation of specialized counter-drone rapid response units to correct this imbalance. And these analysts point to recent regional conflicts in Russia's war in Ukraine, in the India-Pakistan border conflict, the Israel-Iran conflict, as evidence that drones have become a decisive battlefield factor. And their study is warning drone swarms could spark a big transformation in warfare. And here's how the reality check actually came. During PLA air defense exercises, anti-aircraft artillery reportedly were able to hit only 40% of the incoming drones. Only 40%. A battalion of the 77th Group of the Chinese Army reported problems tracking fast and small targets that zigzag mid-flight. Now, for the past several years now, experts have been warning that relying on guns and missiles alone is insufficient, to say the least. And more layered systems like electronic jamming, lasers, C2 integration are essential to catch drone swarms. The PLA Daily article also emphasizes that future battles will be won in what has been described as the cognitive domain, meaning speed as well as AI processing. They will outweigh just brute firepower. And so the Chinese military daily urges the development of deep learning systems as well as multi-sensor intel fusion. Not just that, PLA analysts also point to the United States and its unmanned hellscape plan. It is America's strategy to be used against China in a potential war in the Taiwan Strait. And it includes deploying thousands of unmanned systems to try and deter a PLA Taiwan invasion. And as America strengthens itself for a future war scenario, China is watching and responding, raising alarm at its own air defense gaps. Though bespoke counter UAV brigades don't yet exist in all PLA branches, progress apparently is underway. The PLA plan started working in its counter-drone technology as recently as 2016. Chinese media had reported the setting up of an Air Force unit tasked with detecting and neutralizing small drones. But there is little publicly available information on whether China has a fully specialized drone unit. And in November last year itself, Southern Theater Command units held mobile radar drills targeting drones. In July last year, the China-Laos bilateral military exercise also included anti-drone training. Chinese state media reports that the PLA is also fielding systems like the Silent Hunter laser weapon, mobile anti-drone guns, integrated radar jamming networks, all aimed at tightening drone defenses. The bottom line is this: though China is scrambling to bolster its defenses, its current systems are struggling to counter drone swarms, hitting fewer than half. And China's air defense is vulnerable against drones. Moving on for now, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has claimed that the BRICS alliance has overtaken the G7 in global economic weight, saying BRICS now accounts for nearly half the world's population and 40% of the global economy. Speaking remotely at the BRICS summit held in Brazil, Putin praised the expanding influence of BRICS. He also emphasized on the role of member countries in the current geopolitical situation. Listen to this.
Let me emphasize that the BRICS countries represent different models of development, religion, unique civilization and culture. And at the same time, they all advocate equality and good neighborliness, the priority of traditional values, high ideals of friendship and harmony, and strive to make a significant contribution to ensure.
And to prove his point, Putin referred to the IMF data from 2025, stating that combined GDP figures for the G7 are $57 trillion, whereas BRICS already stands at $77 trillion. He also called on the BRICS countries to step up cooperation in a range of areas, including natural resources, logistics, trade, and finance.
It is necessary to further expand the use of national currencies in mutual payments. The creation of an independent settlement and depository system within BRICS would, it appears, enable faster, more efficient and secure currency transactions. Incidentally, the use of national currencies in trade between our countries has been steadily increasing.
Earlier, BRICS had issued a statement saying that the bloc comprising countries including Brazil, Russia, India, China had serious concerns about the rise of unilateral tariff and non-tariff measures which distort trade, quote unquote. It further said that these were inconsistent with the rules of the World Trade Organization. On the other hand, US President Donald Trump has issued yet another tariff threat. He said that any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff, quote unquote. He also added that no exceptions to this policy will be made. And speaking on the matter, the US Treasury Secretary said that countries don't make trade talks with America by August 1 can expect tariff rates to return to the levels announced in April.
Of a pause, because I think what's happened is there's a lot of congestion going into the home stretch, and as part of the trade team, what's great about having President Trump on side is he's created maximum leverage. So by telling our trading partners that they could boomerang back to the April 2nd date, I think it's really going to move things along the next couple of days and weeks.
And responding to that, the Kremlin said that the BRICS group of nations had never been working to undermine other countries.
Мы действительно видели такие заявления президента Трампа, но здесь очень важно отметить, что уникальность такого объединения, как БРИКС, заключается в том, что это объединение стран, которые разделяют общие подходы и общее мировоззрение того, как нужно осуществлять сотрудничество, исходя из собственных интересов. И это взаимодействие в рамках БРИКС никогда не было и не будет направлено против каких-то третьих стран.
And on the diplomatic front as well, BRICS seems to be standing out in a way with its unequivocal condemnation of global conflicts like the Pahalgam terror attack in India, military strikes of Israel and America on Iran, or the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Just for context here, the BRICS was founded by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa last year. It expanded to include Indonesia, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the UAE. And as per reports, BRICS represented over 1/3 of the world's economic growth based on purchasing power parity and is fast emerging as a bloc for multilateral diplomacy amid violent conflicts and rising tension of the trade wars as well. The question is, will it truly emerge as a viable alternative to platforms like the G7 and the G20 groups of major economies, driven by the agenda of the West, by prioritizing the needs of the global South? Only time will tell. On to the United States now, where Texas is facing its deadliest floods in decades, claiming at least 89 lives, while over 40 remain missing. The damage and the devastation recorded so far is of an unprecedented scale. Our next report telling you more.
Trees uprooted. Vehicles and cars battered beyond recovery. Most parts of the landscape splattered with debris and mud. What was a weekend of joy and celebration for the whole of America turned out to be a nightmare for Texas as it continues to battle one of the most catastrophic flash floods the area has ever experienced. On Friday, the river swelled with water levels rising from 2.3 meters to a staggering, record-setting 9 meters within just 3 hours, and over the last 48 hours, the situation has grown only worse. The search and operation is underway in 12 counties, with rescuers working round the clock to assist in evacuating citizens to higher grounds and safer places.
The hardest part was there was a little boy who started floating downstream, and he was screaming, asking for help, but there just wasn't anything anybody could do at that point.
How did you feel at that moment?
I was about to jump in, and my husband had to hold me back. He said, "You're going to go too, and there's nothing you can do if you jump in." I didn't know how I was going to live with that. And thankfully, by the end of the day yesterday, I saw his face online, and he had been rescued.
The ongoing flooding along the Guadalupe River has hit these cities the hardest, with authorities issuing fresh emergency for Hunt, Ingram and Kerrville, Kerr County, reportedly the hardest hit among 20 affected counties in the region. Amidst rising calls for lack of warning from the Weather Department, President Trump says no plans to investigate weather service vacancies before Texas floods.
Thank you very much. We've been in touch with Governor Abbott and very close to Governor Abbott and everybody in Texas. Kristi Noem has, as you know, been there and will continue to be there. And we're working very close with representatives from Texas, and it's a horrible thing that took place. Absolutely horrible. So we say God bless all of the people that have gone through so much, and God bless the state of Texas. It's an incredible place.
In recent years, human-driven climate change has made extreme weather events such as floods, droughts and heat waves not just frequent, but more intense. Though it's hard to connect specific storms to a warming planet, so soon after they occur, meteorologists say that a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture and allow severe storms to dump even more rain. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Our next story is about US First Lady Melania Trump. Have you heard about what's called the Einstein visa? And why is it being talked about tonight? Well, because of a string of questions that have been raised over how Melania Trump qualified for the Einstein visa. And before we get to that, for those unaware, let's just tell you more about this visa and answer the basic question of what the Einstein visa is all about. In simple terms, the EB-1 visa, often called the Einstein visa, is an employment-based green card. And it's not for everyone, by the way. It's for those who can show extraordinary ability in fields like arts, athletics, science, education, business. It's for those who demonstrate sustained national or international acclaim and whose achievements are recognized through extensive documentation. While there are strict standards, the evaluation process is subjective, reportedly. Why is the visa being talked about? Because of Melania Trump, and questions are being raised about how she qualified for it. Just for context here, Melania Trump was on this visa in America before she became a citizen. This is Jasmine Crockett. During a House Judiciary Committee hearing, the Democratic representative spoke about this matter, raising questions about how Melania Trump, being a model, was granted this category of visa. You know what she asked? Why aren't we talking about integrity when it comes to the president's family visas, quote unquote? And she went on to say, it doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathing here, quote unquote. And here's what else happened. Also testifying was the public policy research organization, the Cato Institute's Alex Nauraste, who said not everybody could marry Donald Trump, and that's quite an achievement, and that Melania Trump deserves credit for that. So while the questions are being raised, let's also tell you how this is far from being the first time Melania Trump's immigration journey is making news. Just for context, it was in the year 1996 that she came to the US. This was on a tourist visa, which then became a work visa. And it was way back in the year 2001 that she got this Einstein visa. Akashdeep, a name that echoed far and wide after India breached England's fortress. He did not just bowl, he made the ball talk. But beyond the wickets lies a story of struggle and unwavering spirit. In a heartwarming gesture, he dedicated the victory to his sister, who is battling cancer. Akashdeep told the broadcaster after the match, I'm quoting, "I have not told this to anyone. My elder sister has been battling cancer for the last 2 months. She is stable now, and I think she will be the happiest seeing my performance. I want to dedicate this match to her. Every time I held the ball in my hand, her face would come in front of my eyes. I just want to see happiness on her face. We are with you," quote unquote. Akashdeep took a sensational 10-wicket haul. He becomes only the second Indian, in fact, to achieve this rare feat on English soil. And he did this on a pitch that was anything but English, a flat deck with little to no help for the bowlers. But he made the ball talk, and how. He made the batters dance to his tune. India is a cricket-obsessed country, and with a population of over 1 billion, earning a spot in the Indian team is nothing short of a dream that few dare to chase and even fewer achieve. And it's even harder when you don't have the resources or the means to get there. But when you have an unbreakable spirit and a burning passion for the game, nothing can hold you back. Akashdeep is living proof that no dream is too far if you are willing to fight for it. The 28-year-old hails from a city in Bihar known more for Shesha Suri than cricket grounds. With little infrastructure, few opportunities, his father wanted him to chase stability. But Akashdeep chased a dream instead. And today, that dream wears the India jersey. Akashdeep had to leave his home state of Bihar. He knocked on the doors of the Jharkhand Cricket Association before finding his place in the Bengal Ranji Trophy side. And that's where he started making a name for himself. At 23, he took a 3-year break from the game after his father suffered a paralytic attack. In a heartbreaking span of just 6 months, he lost both his father and his elder brother. But he never gave up. He kept fighting for his family, for his dream, for his game. The pacer is still carrying those battles in his heart, and today, the boy from the Bihar city roars loud. Let's also talk about Akashdeep's partner in crime, Mohammad Siraj. Just like Akashdeep, Siraj also comes from a humble background. His father was an auto rickshaw driver. And Siraj broke through every barrier to become a mainstay in India's space attack. Yet, he often flies under the radar. When you have arguably the best bowler in the world, Jasprit Bumrah, you're bound to be in the shadows. He may be in their shadows, but when they are not around, Siraj shines the brightest. He stepped up, just like he did at the Gaba in 2021 against Australia. And the numbers back it up. In tests without Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj averaging a stunning 25.20, and that drops even further to 22.27 when he is bowling without either Bumrah or Shami. And when he leads the attack, he delivers time and again. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition for now. We're taking a very short break. Thanks for watching. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa,